Hello, hi everyone. Good evening, and Sashidharan here. Today is the 4th of April 2026. This is my third talk, podcast, or whatever you would like to call it. Um, okay, let me just get straight into it because I guess I, that's the way it should be done. So, I belong to Generation X. I belong to Generation X, like most of my friends and peers and cousins and all. Generation X are the people who were born between 1965 and 1980. Um, the Generation X came after the baby boomers of the 60s, 50s, and 60s. That is just after the war. They were called the baby boomers because war was over and uh, everyone were back to families and they were having kids and all reconstruction was going on all over the world. So they were called the baby boomer generation. And after that, once the reconstruction was over, then they named our generation Gen X, Generation X. I exactly don't know why they did that, but I guess it was because I don't know. So I want to talk to you about um, how the Gen X Indian like me uh, saw this country go through these last 61 years, 61 years or so. Um, I was witness to so many things, and um, actually, I was born in Calcutta um, just before the second Indo-Pak War, 1962. We had a big war, the Chinese War, where we faced defeat. And then 65, we had a Indo-Pak War, which was in the August, August of 65. I was born in the month of May. And so I came into this world, and within 3 months, there was war. But uh, that war, we won the war. India won the war against Pakistan. And so I brought good tidings to this country, I guess. Um, uh, because of the atmosphere or because of the place I was born in a place called Diamond Harbor, which is quite away from the city. My father was employed in the uh, navigational systems of the Ministry of Shipping Navigation. So I was born in a Red Cross hospital, um, and my mom says that I was a happy child, and I remember bits of my first 5 years in Diamond Harbour, Calcutta. Um, there was always this campus with quarters, and all employees had their own house, government constructed house. The whole thing was uh, it was what do you call that, fenced uh, place with the office and the workshop and everything. and I have very mild or very uh, I don't have I don't remember much of that phase of my life, but one thing I remember is my friend, a little elder to me, my father's colleague's son. He stuffed a leaf he plucked out from somewhere and stuffed it into my mouth and told me it is pan, like this pan people eat, also eat. And I started chewing like a stupid boy that I was. And then that leaf supposedly was very poisonous. It was pungent. It was horrible on my tongue, and my burnt my tongue and my throat and everything. And then the elders got scared, and my parents took me to the doctor, and I think I was given a stomach wash or something like that. And that's something I remember. And that was done by a boy called Joy. That much I remember. Then I remember ships passing by. It was a um, it was a route of the ships passing from Calcutta port to the sea. So perched on my mom's kitchen window, I could hear those sirens of the ships, and I could see the masts of the ships, the upper portion. Couldn't see the whole thing, and those memories are there. And but yeah, but um, that's that was my parents tell me. My mom tells me that I was a very happy, jolly um, child, giving no troubles, no tantrums. Then by 1970, we shifted to a place called Balasore, Orissa, and there I was put I was put in a central school because my father was a government employee, central government employee. I was put in a central school, Kendra Vidyalaya, and and I was good at studies, and I liked schooling because it was fun. It was inside a military campus, so we had to walk, or yeah, mostly walk from our campus to this military campus where the school was situated temporarily. They had just started the school, and um, I remember having friends, uh, Lakbir Singh, Anchan Yogi, Lakshman Khandelwal, Ranjan Pandey, Rama Rao, Ravi Ayer. It was a mixed group of people, very few locals, and outsiders, many outsiders. Um, and I remember, other than Ravi Ayer, who was the child of the chief of the railway um, junction. So it was a very important junction, Balasore junction, even those days. So this man was in charge. I was chief of that whole place, and Ravi Ayer was his son. And Ravi Ayer, Ravi Ayer's lunch came from the bungalow. From his bungalow, peon would bring the lunch, and he would sit in a special place, and he would put a tablecloth there, and then the peon would serve him. I'm talking about third standard and all, okay? And he would sit alone and have his full meal, and but the rest of us, we would sit under the tree or some place, some bench and all that, and we would share our food. I remember Lakbir Singh was from a very poor family. His father was a truck driver, so he used to just bring one thick uh, roti, no oil, nothing. One thick roti, handmade roti, with some onions and some and a chili. That was his lunch every day. Um, Lakshman Khandelwal used to bring very good food because he belonged to a business family, Marwadi business family. So they were pretty well off. Pretty well off means those days there's no super rich and all that. Everybody were like almost the same. Middle class was equally poor. We were middle class, but we were all equally poor, hand to mouth. That was existence. So we used to sit together, and uh, there was absolutely no discrimination. We didn't even feel that some this person is different from us, or he. There was this Madrasis and Sardarjis, that those jokes and all used to be there, mild jokes, but there was no offense meant, or there was nothing called, no humiliation, or uh, there was no discrimination or hatred or anything. We all sat together, and we had our um, lunch, sharing whatever we brought. I remember I used to bring idlis or doshas and all that, which would get very dry by the time lunch period happened. So I wouldn't like it because that was my main food in the house. So, but the others would love that, because and I would take their food, and uh, there was there was it was just natural friendships, and uh, there was no identities, strong identities, that this person is this person is that, and all that. Even class wise, rich, poor, and all this. No, that was not there at all. We all were the same. Once we went to the school, there was absolutely no, and that most of the teachers were also like that. They won't discriminate on the basis of class or caste or anything. But yeah, there were exceptions. There was this Pathak sir, Sanskrit teaching sir, who was the principal. He was a terror. Pathak sir was the quintessential um, uh, Brahmin, what do you call it, supremacist. So he had he had strong likes and dislikes. He did not like me at all, and one of the reasons was that I was not fair like the other boys. I was a South Indian, so I was darker than the rest, and I had curly hair. Yeah, don't be surprised. I used to have curly thick hair, and this man, and I was a topper of the class, but he was teaching Sanskrit, so there was always a he could always find some mistake, and he could come and uh, he could pinch my ear, or give me a slap, or do some kind of give me some kind of pain, or some kind of uh, humiliation. He had to do it. Was like and he had a big problem with my curly hair. I don't know. He maybe curly hair is translated to disobedient people, or not civilized people. I don't know what he had in mind, but he had this thing about curly hair, and I don't know about other people with curly hair. He used to come and he used to pull my hair madly, and he used to tell me, "Why can't you straighten it? Why don't you put oil?" and I would just keep quiet. I wouldn't react to him because I knew that he had this problem with me, so I had to just go through that thing. I would I won't cry, or I won't show him a sad face and all. I would just say, okay, go ahead, do whatever you want. I know you hate me, and I hate you too. He was one of those guys. He was the only teacher who wouldn't wear English clothes, like no, sorry, not English clothes, normal pant, shirt, and all those things. He would wear only the dhoti, the North Indian kind of dhoti, kurta, starched dhoti, and then he would have a achkan, the Nehru jacket kind of a thing, and he had this long tuft of hair in the back, which is called the Brahmins have those long tuft of hair there, and he would have a big uh, tika on the forehead, and he was more a priest than a teacher, and he was. Nobody has ever seen him smile. He had a scowl all the time. He was angry at everything. I think he's angry at the whole world, and maybe he was angry at me because his daughter was in my class, and she was very poor at studies. So that could be another issue he had with me. But Pathak sir was a terror for me, and he was the only person who didn't like me. The other teachers all liked me. I was good at studies. I was good at. Um, I was disciplined. I was not very naughty, um, and so this Pathak sir was an aberration. Otherwise, Pathak sir used to make me feel that yeah, there is a identity issue going on here. I am not him. I am not like him. He is not like me. Pathak sir was the first person who injected this into my brain, into my innocent brain, which those days everybody was innocent, not just me. We didn't have any uh, prejudgment about anybody. Uh, so yeah, that he was a guy who made me feel that there is something called a social identity. Of course, I didn't think much of it, and then I was there for till class sixth. Life was good. I was always a topper. I used to always get a uh, prize for being getting first in class. I used to get some prize from the school, mostly books or something. And my dad, uh, there was always a prize for my dad, which was the latest general knowledge book. That's all I wanted. And I used to be obsessed with these general knowledge books. I used to just sit and read and read and read. And by the time I was in fourth, fifth, and all that, I knew all the capitals of all the countries in the world. I knew all um, the capitals and mm, currencies. I knew all the currencies in any country, all the countries of the world, and I knew the prime ministers. I knew the head of states. I knew the presidents. I mean, I used to just gulp that thing, general knowledge book. Uh, why I did that and whether it had any benefit for my student life then, I don't know, nothing. There was not much, but I was a precocious kid and I was curious about everything. So this general knowledge book was very helpful that those days, and I always had. I knew if I came first in class, my dad would buy me the latest general knowledge book. These general knowledge books keep updating themselves. Those days, so you have to have the latest one. Only then could you get the latest data. So that was the only gift I used to get from my father. And I remember he had a princely sum of 50 rupees for he used to say till 50, 50 is the limit. And the book used to cost 30 rupees or something, 30, 35. And it was thick, and I should like thick books. Just like the smell of them. We used to go to the railway station to buy, but because there was no bookshop anywhere, the only bookshops in most towns were in the railway station. The Higginbotham's bookshop. Higginbotham's was, I think, a British company which was later transferred to some Indian, and that person had the license to have bookshops all over the country in all the railway stations. So the railway station was the place where people went to buy books. You will not believe this. And they had the best books, the latest books, and all that. Um, of course, there were not too many books being published anyway, but they would keep everything, all the magazines, latest magazines, newspapers, and the latest books, and classics, of course, and general knowledge books. Yeah. So that trip was very memorable. After getting the first rank, my dad would take me to that Balasore railway station, walk along the platform, go to the shop, and I would be given a choice whether to take I forget the names of these GK books. I would have a choice between this book and that book. That book I wouldn't, and I would go by the look of it, by the smell of it, because the matter would be the same. Is just that's a lot of data in there, and I would take the most thickest and the one which smelled nice and was fresh. And yeah, that was something I cherished. And yeah, and when I was in the second standard, a family friend of my father, he was a young guy. He was working in a bank. He was a bank officer. He came for my birthday, and he presented me a stack of books. That was the first time I got somebody gave me a stack of books, and that was Enid Blyton. Enid Blyton books, one stack, 4 or 5 books, one set. And wow, that opened this uh, world of reading, world of books, world of stories, novels, fantasies, and all those things. And I can never forget that man, that one man, Mr. Mukundan. He gave me something which has supported me throughout my life, throughout all the low phases. I could always I could always depend on a book to see me through that phase, and because of him, I developed a thing towards books. I was a compulsive book buyer. Even when I was earning 1,000 rupees, I would spend 200 on books. That crazy I was. Yeah, I couldn't keep up with the number of books I was buying, so there was always a lot of books that were unread. But that book buying never went away. I think I stopped buying books just a year back. No, I still bought a book 1 month back. I bought the book on um, this this guy who was been put in jail, JNU guy. My memory is failing me. So otherwise, nowadays it's all in the thing. I hear books, audiobooks, then I read it in the phone. So that book buying disease or illness has stopped now. Also, I cannot afford to buy books which now have become minimum 500 rupees. There's I don't think there's any new book launching for less than 500. So that's quite a lot of money for me. So that has stopped. But Mr. Mukundan helped me, saved me from a lot of things in life. He gave me an anchor. He gave me a clutch or a hook to hold on to, um, because later in life I would turn into a um, agnostic, non-believer, atheist. And when you do that, when you don't have religion or faith, the only thing you are left with is books and science. And books help me, and they help me even now. Um, so, so what I was saying was that this um, identity issues never were there in the 70s. I mean, at least wherever I was there, I mean, wherever, whichever school I was there, whichever campuses I was there, whichever town I was there, uh, that was not there. This uh, they, we, they versus us. Um, they belong to this group. We belong to this group. This caste, higher caste, lower caste. Those things were there in the society, but I wasn't face to face with all those things because of my situation. Because I was either in the campus where my father was working or in the school. The school was central government school, so uh, there were all kinds of people, and there was no discrimination and all much. And the campus was also the same. Um, all kinds of people were working in my dad's department. So um, this was not an issue for me at all. These class, yeah, class, of course, a little bit was there. Yeah, I forgot. Ravi Iyer having lunch alone and with a peon and all that was a class thing. We never connected it with the fact that he was an Iyer, a Brahmin. We just took it that he was a son of a big officer. His food came from a bungalow, and so he was a rich man's son. So powerful rich man's son. So that was the thing. And there was this girl called Aarti Narayan, who was a daughter of the head of that military establishment. So she used to go to her bungalow again. She used to go to her bungalow, which was in the school campus, a different part of the school campus, and she used to have her lunch and come. That's again because of her dad's position. So that was class. So there was a little bit of class consciousness was there, more than class. Yeah, the status, um, big officers, children of big officers. That a little bit of this thing was there, differentiation or discrimination or whatever. We used to watch that. I used to watch that, but that was very minute considering the overall fraternity that we used to enjoy. Overall secular um, atmosphere we used to have, and yeah. But then, yeah, I remember a few things. I remember during, when you're 13 and all that, you start getting these 11, 12 and all that. When you're the fifth standard and all that, when you've already learned some things about politics and history and everything. And then news, and everybody gets a little bit of news every day from the paper or radio. And then we start talking about politics in a very crude manner. Um, but and I used to take part in those discussions. And I remember somebody saying that India needs a dictatorship. and I was quite surprised because by then I had a bit of knowledge about what a dictatorship was like. I knew a bit about Mao and Stalin, all those things. I knew it from my general knowledge books. I knew it from my history books. So that line stayed with me. That line would haunt me when things would change in the country, because after this, from the seventh standard, I my father got a transfer to a smaller place, so I was put in a hostel in Madras, the city. Suddenly, from a small town, I was plucked and put in this city hostel. First time away from home, and this big city. I was overwhelmed. I lost my uh, topper position there. It was a smaller school, so I was a topper there. I came here and I saw brilliant people, brilliant students, way more intelligent and hardworking and uh, smarter than me. And so I, it wasn't a very pleasant thing, the hospital, the schooling, and all that. But again, even in that period, um, I'm talking about now, late 70s, emergency had come in place, and um, that we had a dictator anyway now. So I thought that the boy um who had spoken this earlier in Balasur, he had he had some foresight. I thought so. Dictatorship was there for 2 years, and I was in Madras. It was called Madras. Now it's Chennai, and I was dealing with this hostel life and big school, smarter kids, uh, lovely language that they had. Their English was very good. Mine wasn't. And But the uh, the friendships and the mixing was the same. Like, I remember Mushtaq Muhammad. I remember Solomon, uh, Anup Chadda, Shivanand Reddy, Girish Iyer, Shantanu, Sundar, Pragya Khare, Shaila Janayar, Kala Reddy. Um, you know, we were all one small India there, in one class, in one section of one class, and we had fun together. We did. We got into trouble together. We got beaten together, and there also how could I forget Lakshmi Narasimhan? Lakshmi Narasimhan was a great guy, and that Lakshmi Narasimhan came from a very slum area, and there were all kinds of people, and there was absolutely, again, there was no identity issue at all there. Even the class issue which was there in my earlier, like the Ravi Iyer issue, that wasn't there in this school. There was no discrimination happening, or no discrimination was felt by a student like me. uh, I had no idea about all these upper caste, lower caste, Muslim, Hindu, Christian differences, majority, minority. There was all those things never existed throughout the 70s. I'm talking about now, end of. 70s, 80s started. From 80, I I was kicked out of the school and the hostel for some stuff I did with the senior gang, because I had lost that academic superiority I used to have in the smaller school there. Here I was just an also ran, and so I think I wanted some kind of validation from people, students, peers, and what better than join the backbenchers gang and a backbenchers gang in the school, and the rebels in the hostel. That was a very bad combination, and so we did things which were very stupid, and mm, many students were kicked out from the hostel. But those people, the parents of those children, went back and fought and got their children admitted back, because they did not give the parents a warning. It was all sudden, and then there was. I mean, they fought. They were all officers, and um, they were all powerful people in society those days. So they fought, and they got their children admitted back. But I was the outlier. My dad didn't have the time to do all those things. Dad was um, my dad had a very bad boss who was torturing him day in and day out. He was just barely sticking on to his job for our sake, and so he couldn't get leave in the proper time. So he couldn't come and try to do what the other parents did. Also, my family was shocked about all this, because they were spending a lot of money on me, and so I had to be admitted to a school, CBSE school in Palakkad, in a small village, and my 10th standard was again in a small village school, CBSE village school, of course, English medium CBSE village school, and I was a topper again. So from being a topper in a small town up north in Balasore, Orissa, I went down uh, in Chennai when hit rock bottom, and then once I was in another small town school, I was a topper. So after that, I think my parents also lost trust in me, that this guy is worth investing money on education, and this guy is his tendencies are not good. Is not um, he's not focused, or he's not disciplined. Even though I got this first rank and all that, they lost that thing. I mean, they of course they had two more children to take care, so they thought, no, I can't. They didn't want to take the risk of putting me in a private college somewhere else, in a hostel again, because my mom and siblings had settled in Kerala by then, and so I was put in a local government college, small town college, and I I just couldn't. I was educated in the English medium from the first to the 10th in a central school, um, where there was some kind of good education, good teachers, and all that. Then suddenly I was chucked into this government college where you're on your own. Most of the days there were strikes, and the teachers were not interested. They were getting salaries. They were just passing time, and yeah, the intelligent ones, yeah, they studied on their own. They went for tuitions, and they cracked exams, entrance exams, and they got into engineering colleges and all that. But most of the people couldn't. Uh, they The best they did was just barely pass by mugging stuff and all that. And I couldn't mug. I couldn't. My memory has never been good. If I understand something, it'll stay here. If I don't, I cannot learn by rote, like they say, and regurgitate it in the answer paper. Like that was my failing, or that was my problem. So the um, college life was pretty bad. But again, in when I came to college life in Kerala, then I noticed politics. I noticed politics. I noticed caste. Uh, I noticed reservations because I knew I was. I knew some of us were not paying fees because they had concession because of their minority status, and some people got into engineering with very low marks because the same reservation. And and in my village, when I was staying there with my grandmother and all that, only then I started realizing real caste, the the caste system. It was my first hand experience of caste system, and that happened very late when I was 14, 15, 16, because my grandmother won't allow my um, Muslim friends to enter the house, the ancestral house. She would ask the anyone comes, she would take me aside and ask me what caste does that boy belong to. And then when I realized that she wasn't happy with me bringing the so-called less privileged caste people or Muslims, then I started lying to her. I used to say that he's also an Iyer, he's a Iyer, and I used to fool her and take them inside and have fun. But there I started seeing this caste in play, and though um, my when it came to my mother and her generation, they were much more liberal. uh, while my grandmother wouldn't like a lower caste person to come inside the house, inside the kitchen, and work and you know help in the kitchen and all those things. When it came to my mother, she was not like that. She had changed, and there was no discrimination and stuff. Yeah, of course, discrimination would be there. Like they would have different, when they were given food, they were given food in a different plate and a glass kept for them. Those things were there, but there was no uh, there was no obvious discrimination. But it was then that I started getting this thing that there is this caste identity. I belong to this caste, and they belong to that caste, and my caste is a privileged caste, higher caste. They are lower. The Iers are higher. So uh, that ladder and all that I learned or I experienced only at that age. But then, even in the 80s, there was no this religious this thing had not entered. Um, Absolutely not. At least in Kerala, it was not there because Kerala, we have almost equal number of Muslims, Christians, and Hindus, and mm, prosperity is there on all sides. So, um, it was there was absolutely uh, no problems related to religion at all, and so um, so I got out of the college in 1985. Then I went to Delhi because my brother was in Delhi. He had a job in a ba- bank. You're staying with a cousin who also had a job in a clerical, all clerical jobs. You could only get clerical jobs those days. The brightest of us got into an engineering college, or an odd one got into an IIT. Um, Nobody got into medicine. That was one very, very rare. At least not in my college. I didn't find anyone getting a seat in a medical college because medical college was were very rare. Uh, Engineering colleges also were rare. Private engineering colleges were very rare, but still, one or two used to crack the exam and get into these engineering colleges, and the rest had to just um, write bank entrance exams and try to get a clerical job in a bank, or the other alternative was to become a medical representative. That was the middle class normal job those days. It was a private job. It involved a lot of travel and all that, but you could dress well and you could meet doctors, and you could improve your language and presentation skills and all that, and you could improve your management skills, and you could aim to become manager, area manager, division manager, and one day even uh, uh, very good post, maybe southern region manager and all those things. Some people did succeed in getting there, but these were the two jobs. And then government jobs, they were rare, of course, even then. And those exams would happen once in 2 years or 3 years, and you have to wait for that, prepare for that, right? And if you belong to the general category, you won't getting cracking them was not easy. You had to be skilled in that particular thing, cracking that exam. And 50 and most of the jobs were reserved anyway. So that was not the thing. And the other thing that a lot of my Malayali friends or classmates could do was migrate to the Gulf countries, go there, get some job, and try to make a life out of that, make some money, and send money home, and make a house, marry, and lead that migrant, semi-migrant kind of a life, because you couldn't settle there those days. You could work there and make money, and one day after you become old and not useful enough, you would have to come back and start life here with whatever assets you had built till then. So these were the options we had. Yeah. So I had to move to Delhi. That parents would just give you the basic education, a degree, and then pack some stuff, basic stuff into a box, a steel box, or the suitcases, fancy suitcases had not yet come. It would be a steel box or a trunk. It was called a trunk, and then tell you to go and make a living somewhere in some city. That was life. And so my brother was there, so I could get free food and shelter. So I went there and started applying for jobs, and who would give a um, guy like me a job? I wouldn't fit anywhere. I mean, I was not a uh, I was not a illiterate or semi-literate guy who could get into some working class job, or did not have a degree to get a clerical job, or a management, lower management kind of a job. Uh, so the basic education was not there. So somehow I got into this Thomson Press, the people behind India Today and um, Aaj and all those that group. It was the biggest press in India. I loved books. I loved the smell of print, um, and somehow I just joined as an apprentice for pittance for 600 rupees or something per month salary. It was not easy. It was very difficult. But then there were so many people like me living on these very low salaries, and so we helped each other, and we stayed together. I had a roommate who was a Christian from Kerala, and he was in the uh, he was in the accounts department, and so and even there in Haryana, Faridabad, where this press was situated, and we were staying there, very a lousy industrial town actually. Um, but um, but we were together, and there were a lot of boys from uh, Kerala, and those Christians, Malayali Christian friends, they were regular beef eaters back home, and I noticed that the beef used to come discreetly to their homes, even to my home, to my room. Uh, s- uh, Somebody would bring that in a packet and deliver it to us, and it was a very hush hush affair. I never thought much of it. My roommate would make lovely beef curry, and I would enjoy it. I would relish it, and I was so naive that I used to even tell my friends in the company where I worked, my colleagues and all, who were Pandes and who were Pakka uh, upper caste Brahmins and all. I remember telling them that I had beef yesterday, and I remember the look on their faces, but there was this look. That's all. There was no. There was nothing beyond that. There was not this. Oh, these guys, God, yuck. That thing was not there. They absorb that thing that yeah, we Malayalis eat beef if it is available. Luckily, the times were good, so nobody leaked to anyone that this beef trading, illegal beef trading was going on. Yeah, I forgot to tell you. Like many other states in India, Haryana had banned beef a long time back, a very long time back. So it was not supposed to be sold, whether it was uh, cow or buffalo. It was a no-no there. So it was all done in a very clandestine manner. But nobody got harmed because of all that. So even then, even till 1990, when I was there, I had no idea about this beef being such a thing in India. I absolutely had no idea. Maybe I was bad at my history, or I was not reading the right stuff. I was reading the right things, or I don't know. But there was nothing called um, illegal beef trade or anything. It was going on. People were. I think it was all very discreet. There was nothing openly being done, but nobody minded because this thing had not yet started. This us versus them. So I don't know. I mean, I when I think back, I could have been lynched in that Faridabad for telling my colleague, uh, what's his name, Pandey, what Pandey? He was a big guy, and he was a very proud Hindu. um, and I coolly told him that, yeah, last night I had beef curry, and he was shocked. And Alok Pandey, I'm thankful that Alok Pandey wasn't a violent type, and he didn't. He was not. He was not too much into this Hindutva stuff. And mind you, it had already started. It was 1990. All those things had started. The Rath Yatras and all those things had started. BJP had become a force by then. But but it was all under control. Nobody could take law into their own hands and all that. So then I came back to Tamil Nadu, Coimbatore, because of some medical reasons. My parents settled here after the retirement because my sister was studying here. My brother had a job here. He had got a transfer to Coimbatore, and they were staying here. So I had to come back to that house, to their house, and because of this medical reason. And um, and again here, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. This was this virus didn't appear for a long, long time. Um, and it was after uh, 92, the masjid fell, and then the riots happened, and then BJP started winning. BJP came to power, 97, for short periods, 1 year, 6 months, and all those 10 days and stuff. But then by 2000, they had come to power, but with allies and all that. But they did come to power. Vajpayee was the PM, and then 2002 happened. Um, that changed everything. That 1992 to 2002, those 10 years changed everything. Of course, I don't have first-hand information because I was not there where the change was really happening in the north. I was in Tamil Nadu, and I was in near Kerala in Tamil Nadu, and these places are still very, very fraternal, secular, progressive. So you can understand those days how it would have been. Of course, they tried their things here also. There was this bomb blast, and then there was this riots that took place. They tried to, of course, that was because of the backlash after the masjid fell. There was this backlash from the militant kind of Muslims, and that happened here also. But that was just a uh, aberration by a few stupid people, uh, maniac people. But otherwise, there's absolutely no discrimination and all those things. Even now, um, but the country changed. in those 10 years from 92 to 2002. And um, the 92 thing, the Babri Masjid demolition, I couldn't feel that pain as much as my father did. I saw my father really heartbroken when that happened. He did not expect that to happen. And he said, "That's it. We have changed. This country has changed." And um, but that did not affect me much because I didn't those days know the significance of that thing event. But later I found out that now that the cracks have developed, people have become totally um, separated up north. Uh, mm, the minorities have been ghettoized, and there was no fraternity left. There was no secularism left, and yeah. So yeah, from 1990 to when I was when I had a business in Tirupur, I used to travel to Tirupur daily. I used to commute by train, by a local train every day. I remember the train passing by a slaughterhouse just before the Tirupur railway station. It was an open slaughterhouse. We used to see buffaloes being slaughtered and hung. And we were a gang of employees, I mean, employees or professionals or consultants or whatever, going to Tirupur for their work every day morning and coming back in the evening. And then I noticed that some of us, few of us, would get very irritated seeing this. They would turn the other side, they would curse and under the breath and all that. And then I started realizing, oh, these Brahmins and the upper caste people, they're very angry at this. So of course later that thing was closed for obvious reasons. It was not hygienic and it was not a great site for train travelers. So it was closed later, but what I'm trying to say is that it till 2000, 2000 2002 or 2004, 2005, it was all very uh, okay. There was no this schism had not developed, and um, then after 2004, in the UPA years, then we started hearing about this lynching, cow protection gangs going around in the BJP ruled states, and the UPA not being able to do anything about it. They were also scared of losing Hindu votes, so they were not strong enough against those people. So they got encouraged by all those things, and the result was Narendra Modi. He reaped what his predecessors or his gurus had sown 100 years back, 90 years back. They had sown this seed of distrust between us and them, and that slowly they watered the Parivar watered it nicely, and 2000 by 2014 was ready for pickings. Of course, it had a small life before 2004, but that was not that was a that was still quite secular. They had to have a mask of secularism. They couldn't proclaim Hindu Rashtra and things like that. They couldn't do overtly dangerous stuff and all that. But this second coming was a permanent coming. And in the last 10 years, uh, other than few pockets like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, uh, that's it. West Bengal, maybe. The rest of the country has been totally divided on religious lines, caste lines, and and so and there is nothing to counter that. The class difference and all is gone. The class fight is over because there is no working class at all. There are no workers anymore. There are no employees, permanent employees or employees with rights and unions and all that. They don't exist anymore. So there is no other way this force can be fought. You just have a few um, progressive left liberal people, and the left is almost out of the picture. And and the whole country has been taken backwards into a place uh, where people are more interested in our ancient wisdom than the latest wisdom. They want to replace all modern science. They want to replace it with science from our Vedas and science. I mean, I'm not knowledge from the Vedas. They want to um, change the constitution and bring in the bring in the Manusmriti as the laws for society. And now we are going back, and this is so heartbreaking as a Generation X person. Um, this was not where I was born. This is not where I was schooled. This is not the country where I started a business and where I started a family. And this is not that country at all. I don't recognize this country. I don't recognize the people. I don't recognize most of my cousins. I don't recognize most of my family. I This is a foreign land, and I'm just here for a few more years, and um, I have no hope that that country will ever come back because uh, there is a um, there is a need for the elite and and the the aspiring elite, um, and the brokers and the powerful and the political masters. There is a need for them to keep this country like this, boiling all the time, restless, boiling, um, small riots and tensions all the time, um, anger. People should be angry all the time. It benefits them. It benefits the elite. They that they it's sure. I mean, it makes sure that there won't be any rising. There won't be any unity among people. They will not come to the streets together, um, and they can just have a great life. They can just live in gated communities and have their dream life with all the luxuries, and they can have they can buy houses in Europe and America and go there if things get too bad here. So there is a vested interest of keeping this country, this the masses of this country, uh, unscientific, regressive, um, superstitious, um, fanatically religious, um, um, with hard, for what do you call it, hatred towards the other people. This has been done beautifully, and it is now the norm that this is how the country is. This is how country is going to run, and everybody, the so-called pillars, the checks and balances, and all those things that were written into the constitution, they all have fallen, and they have all surrendered to this huge march towards God knows where. They have surrendered to this huge, what do you call it, Rath Yatra, to some place I don't know. And I fear for my children who would be left back here. Our children, next generation, who won't, who people who have migrated or who are going to migrate to other European countries, they're lucky. The rest of those children, they would have to turn into bigoted, hatred-filled, um, uh, psychophantic supporters of this cult of personality. Yeah, they would have to turn themselves into cult members. Yeah, that's the right word. The whole country is now is a big cult now. It's not about religion. It's not about any culture or anything. It's a cult, and there is a cult leader, and there's a cult organization, and there are cult members. And being a cult member has its own benefits. So why not be a cult member? That is the simple explanation. It is like a self-preservation. Human beings, for human beings, self-preservation comes first, no? For all living beings. So when the whole country is going in one direction, if you take another direction, your chances of getting harmed or killed are more, or um not benefiting from the system or getting crushed by the system is more, or being targeted by the system is more. So why not just give up all this and just follow the master? This has been a very tough talk, because this is something that I credit this whole process to my feeling mental health also, because I could my mental health, there is a before and after. um, I'm sure it started during 2013-14. My problems, it just started with anxiety, paranoia a bit, and sleeplessness, um, and it kept getting worse. uh, yeah, so I have no good things to say at the end of this talk. because I remain very pessimistic about um, this path that this country has taken. Um, um, I can just um, have a 30-second silence for the country that I lost, country that I was born in. I can condole that with a 30-second silence, like they do when people die. Okay, that's it for today. I'll come back with a better thing, better subject tomorrow, hopefully. Till then, you take care and hope that if you are you have a frame of mind like mine, I hope uh, there is no midnight knock on the door, or your channel doesn't get blocked, or your career is not affected because of your um, position or because of your views. Um, that's all I can wish. Okay, bye.